There was a time when the American dream meant something. A house with a yard, a good job, a shot at a better life. But somewhere along the way, that dream started slipping out of reach for millions. Today, it feels like the U.S. isn't built for people anymore. It's built for profit. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed, a machine that feeds off the labor of the many to serve the wealth of the few. Some call it capitalism. But what we're living through doesn't feel like the free market. It feels like a modern-day plantation, dressed up in tech and debt, where working people never get ahead, only keep the machine running. More and more Americans are waking up, realizing that the dream might not be worth chasing if it means living paycheck to paycheck, drowning in stress, and never truly being free. That's why a growing number of people are making a bold move, leaving the U.S. altogether. One of the most popular destinations? Costa Rica. And not for the reasons you might think. Yes, the cost of living is lower. Yes, the lifestyle is more relaxed. But there's something deeper going on. People aren't just running away from America. They're running towards something better, a new definition of what it means to live well. Here are a few facts about Costa Rica that might surprise you. Costa Rica has no military. They abolished their army in 1949 and invested that money into education and healthcare. Healthcare is universal and affordable. Many expats report getting high-quality care for a fraction of the cost they paid in the U.S. The country runs on over 98% renewable energy, mostly hydropower, wind, and geothermal. Costa Rica ranks among the happiest countries in the world, according to the Happy Planet Index. It's home to 5% of the world's biodiversity, despite covering just 0.03% of the Earth's surface. Property is available to foreigners without restriction. You can legally own land here, even if you're not a citizen. For some, it's not just a vacation spot. It's a lifeline, a chance to escape the grind, slow down, and actually live. So let's hear directly from the people who made the leap. Not because they gave up on life, but because they refused to settle for a life that didn't feel like their own. But before we begin, please leave a like. It helps this video reach someone who might need the motivation to make a change. And if you're feeling generous, hit that subscribe button to support the channel. Smaller channels like us often get buried by the algorithm, but we believe it's videos like this, real people sharing real experiences that deserve to be seen. Not polished editorials meant to sway the masses, but honest stories that speak to something real.
Peace and love, friends. I've been getting a lot of comments with questions about relocating to Costa Rica and or simply leaving the United States or your home country. So in this video, I'm going to give you 5 easy tips that I wish someone told me before I relocated. Tip number 1, where do you want to live and why? If you're thinking about Costa Rica, figure out what it is about Costa Rica that is calling you and if the lifestyle really works for you. A lot of times I tell people you should be visiting this country before you decide to move there full-time, long-term, because you could get there and really not resonate with the culture or the life. So figure out where you want to go, do plenty of research, check out other TikTokers, check out YouTube, check out Instagram, get on Google, so many resources that you have virtually, and also people like myself. I offer consultation calls to people who are interested in Costa Rica. So figure out where you want to go, why, and decide if that lifestyle is in resonance with you. Tip number 2. You guys need to have stable income. This is where I went wrong with my relocation. I do not have stable income, so I actually end up struggling a lot financially here. It is, of course, cheaper to live here than in the States. For example, rent is a lot cheaper, but you do need money. You need money if you want to travel. You need money for food. You need money if you want to obtain transportation. You need money if you want to buy land. So you need a way to bring in income. So it's wonderful if you have some type of business or some way to make money online, or if you find a volunteer opportunity or a work opportunity in the country you want to move to. So find a way that you can be making ongoing income while you're living there. Tip number 3, start deciding how you want to house yourself. Like I said, rent is a lot cheaper, but maybe you have a lot less income than you were working with before. So decide if you're wanting to rent a place and start looking for a place, an area that you want to rent. Or if you're trying to buy land the way I did, start looking for land. And that can happen when you get to the country, but figure out what your budget is and begin searching for the land so that you can get it and you can house yourself. Or potentially you can find volunteer opportunities like with Workaway and find something where you can work for a place to stay and food to eat for free. Running out of time, so I'm going to have to do a part 2.
I've been summoned. By now, we all know that Trump has won the election, and I have both messages, DMs, and text messages from personal friends asking me about the process to move to Costa Rica. I obviously had a moment and thought about all of the things and all of the people that I love and how some of these policies may impact people that I love. And I had a moment, and I'm fine. And I'm fine because, one, we're built for this. Okay? Sis, we are built for this. We will be okay. Second reason I'm fine is I have 3 properties in 2 different countries, 2 in Costa Rica, 1 in Mexico. So we've been prepping for this since 2020. First things first, if you're thinking about moving to any country, you need to research that country, their immigration laws, and make sure and understand what visas you need and how long the visas are active. For Costa Rica specifically, you have 180 days on your visa before it expires. Now, some people do border runs. So they go to a neighboring country, they get their passport stamped, and then they come back in the country. But Costa Rica is cracking down on that because that is, although legal, not the way they want you to do it. We have a path for residency in Costa Rica, and we will be starting the residency application for our family. So there's several ways to do it. You can do it by being an investor, which is the one that we will apply for. You can do it if you have a pension. If you have $60,000 in the bank that you can keep in a Costa Rican bank, I think it's Costa Rican bank. Yeah, a Costa Rican bank. They will, they want to make sure that you can take care of yourself and you have money to do so because you won't be eligible for Costa Rican benefits yet. And then the other way is, I lost my train of thought. I'll come back to that. The top question I get is, can you get a mortgage? And the answer is maybe. So they do now have, like, it wasn't available when we first purchased in 21, but they do now offer some loans for foreigners. However, it's not your typical mortgage that you do in the States. So it might require 20 to 30% down, and you might have to pay it off in under 10 years. If that works for you, that works for you. If not, you might want to consider a long-term rental. I can help you. So I have been super busy. We have this Mexico closing in December, but I promise to put some information up to where you can contact me for a paid consultant conversation. And if you want me to go scout properties for you and want you to help you with that process, we can talk about what that looks like from a time and investment perspective, and I can help you with that too. Okay? Stay calm. We are built for this. Okay? All right. Bye.
I've been living in Costa Rica for almost 3 months now. And since I've been here, I've been dating this Costa Rican guy. And because today was tax day, I kind of started telling him about the IRS and how taxes work in the US. And when I told him the amount of power and influence the IRS has over the American people, he looked at me and he said, that should be a Stephen King novel. Stephen King should write a novel about the IRS because that's the scariest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. And then we started talking about health insurance and how health insurance in the US costs hundreds of dollars per month. And then on top of that, you usually have to pay a copay to go even see your doctor or a specialist or whatever you need, right? And that's also something that's just mind-blowing to him. And we kind of started talking about medical debt and student loans and all this stuff that we have in the US. And then he looked at me and he was like, okay, so basically I just have to be a millionaire to survive in the US. I was like, yeah, basically. But I wouldn't be getting this outside perspective on things if I hadn't left the US and traveled and become a digital nomad. So I say all this to say, if you haven't left the US, if you spent your whole life there, if you haven't been outside the country other than just going on vacation, I highly recommend you go and just try living somewhere else, even if it's only for a few weeks or a month or whatever, so you can actually see how other societies and other cultures live, because it will give you a whole new perspective on your country, for better or for worse. All I'm saying is the American normal is not the normal everywhere. And you have opportunities to leave if you want to. That's part of the reason why I became a digital nomad, is because I wanted to see different places and live life differently than what I would have in the US, right? And I'm not saying that you should leave, like that's totally a personal decision, but just know there are options available to you. And there's a whole big, beautiful world out there for you to see if you're not satisfied with the US, how it is now, how you're living, prices going up, whatever it may be. So I will leave you with that, because if you never leave the country, if you just consume American news, if you don't do any outside research, you have blinders on. So don't let your blinders prevent you from seeing the truth and seeing the whole world as it is, okay? And with that, good night.
So, why Costa Rica? This probably looks a little goofy, but I'm out here. UV's insane here, so I have to wear long sleeves and a hat if I'm going to be outside, or I will be burnt like bacon. So, let's get started. Why Costa Rica? Reason number one is because of my kid being safe in school. So, we moved from basically Charlotte, North Carolina, like a little town south of the border called Rock Hill. We always just say Charlotte because we're dealing with an international community here and not a lot of people know where Rock Hill is. So we lived in a little suburban neighborhood in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and moved here. So gun culture is very big there. I grew up and was raised shooting and cleaning and using semi-automatic weapons, and just am very comfortable with that, but it reached kind of a fever pitch in the last 5 years, and especially after having a kid and seeing all the school shootings going on in the US, it was really difficult to have my kid in daycare and worry about someone with mental health issues going into his daycare during the day while I was working. Didn't want to do that. Costa Rica, comparatively, is very safe. You see what you see in the American media about countries in Central America, but overall, it's very safe. We live in a very rural, quiet area. I do not worry about my son's safety at school at all. It's just not even a thought. So that is one reason. The second reason is affordable private healthcare. So Costa Rica has a system called CAHA that is it's like a public system. It's socialized medicine. And when you are a temporary resident, permanent resident, or a citizen, you pay into it. So we're in the residency process. We're applying to be residents here. So once that's approved, we'll start paying a certain amount of our paychecks and income into the CAHA system. But it has the same traditional struggles that other socialized systems have, where people can't get what they need in a timely manner. There's just not as many resources. I don't think it's specific to Costa Rica that is like a difficult struggle. Like, I think most socialized structures have that dynamic where they're trying to serve a huge population and they only have so many resources. Anyways, they do have, like, Costa Rica has some of the best, highest literacy rate, some of the best educated doctors around. Like, we export them. So the private systems, like SEMA, Clinica Biblica, there's a handful of like large private hospitals here that a lot of really skilled doctors work at. And if you go in, it's just as good, if not better, than the US. That was a bullet ant on my fucking leg. Dude. I just brushed him off. Holy shit. You must have dropped from the trees, my dude. Okay, we're gonna move. We're gonna move because I'm wearing boots and I don't want to get bit. Okay, filming in the jungle. There we go. Anyways, anyways, the system here is very good and it's affordable. So most immigrants that I know that come from like a privatized healthcare kind of system don't pay for insurance here, because a lot of it is affordable even in the private system. So we had insurance the first year that we were here, and I did not re-up it because we never spent out of pocket the amount that I was paying in like the annual fees. Is that stupid? I don't know. Like, I'll have to update you if something happens, but we've had a couple incidences that I can speak on in more in-depth videos where that's been tested, like how affordable it is, both like in a big capacity and in a small capacity. So yeah, let me know if you want to hear more about that. But so affordable private healthcare is the second point. My third is the climate here. So geographically, where Costa Rica is located, it makes it one of the best climates in the world. One of the most biodiverse. So if you are like a plant, bird, just nature nerd, this is heaven. And on top of that, because of where it's located, it doesn't get too hot and it never gets below, I would say, like 50 degrees Fahrenheit at very high altitudes. So the hottest I've ever been here is about 95 degrees Fahrenheit, but that's the very tail end of dry season when you've had no rain for weeks. I think pretty much anywhere would be hot in that context. And then the coldest I've ever been is about 55 Fahrenheit. And that's at high elevation. We live on a mountain, in deep rainy season where it's raining from the time the sun comes up to when it goes down. It does get chilly. And when you have a breeze, I need a jacket. So it's, most of the year we don't have to use AC. That's a huge savings. Like, you don't, energy is expensive here. But you don't have to use AC most of the time because the climate is just super temperate and easy. Yeah, so let me know if you want to know more.